Greetings, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome back to the Ground and Bag podcast, but also welcome back to Career Tuesday. I can't believe that it's another Tuesday because I literally feel as though these months has been going by. Like literally before you know it, we're going to be celebrating another new year. Prayerfully, the next year is 10 times better than this one, with more awakening as far as our knowledge and as individuals we're able to grow and thrive, but also a mindset shift on all levels. But today we're going to focus on now. And as mentioned before, welcome to the Ground and Bag podcast. And if you're watching this, you are under the Career Tuesday playlist. I'm your host, Aisha Ansa. And if you haven't already planted roots with me yet, please go ahead and subscribe, like, share, and comment so that way you don't miss any video that is published, most importantly. And also, please go ahead and share this video. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. So that way the YouTube multiverse is aware that you find value here and that this content has been supportive to you, so that way we can keep up with the algorithm shift and movements. But also the Grand Bag podcast is on streaming. So if you have Apple Music, if you have Spotify, if you have other podcast platforms, please go ahead and listen to us on there, because exclusive content will be shared on Spotify, Apple Music, and all other streaming platforms. Not Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. So that way you're also able to hear me on the go. And most importantly speaking, please go ahead and subscribe to the Ground and Bag podcast on Substack, because I will be publishing articles on there in adjacent to the videos, because there are some in-depth articles that I will have more insights, more information listed on there, as well as more in-depth information. So today we're going to just dive right into it, because the most important thing that I want you all to know is that I am your peer. I'm also a working professional, both in corporate business as well as right now I'm an MSW candidate in my final term at Howard University. So mental health and also holistic health and whole person health is who I am, as well as the most important thing is I'm a daughter of God. So I also carry my faith with me, because that's also what sustains me. And even in workplaces, what holds us together could be faith, family, could be prayer, and also the harsh reality that you're here to make a living for your family, and you know that you either have to put up or shut up, or try to see if you're able to find a better option outside of where you are and what you're doing. So that's what we're going to be talking about, because last episode we talked about what it really means to have a job, employment versus identity, because oftentimes our jobs can become our identity, and that's all that we know, that's all that we see ourselves as. So today we're going to be talking about keeping a job, professionalism, boundaries, and emotional regulation, because that right there, mm-hmm, that's the hardest one, ladies and gentlemen. The hardest one. So let me make sure you can see me. Let's make sure that you can see the screen. Awesome sauce. So keeping a job. So how many of us get a job, want a job, but when we're in the job, we start, the momentum stops. The momentum of, I need to get a job, I need to keep my job, I need to do everything that I can to move on up. How many times the momentum stops for us, where we're wondering what do we do and how do we move forward, and how do we keep our morality at the same time? Because sometimes the trainings that we get, if hopefully we do get trainings, it teaches us a lot about the morality and the company's culture, but how many of us lose ourselves along the way? It happens more often than not. So that's why we're going to be tackling these three pillars, because the most important thing is ensuring that we're able to stay rooted in quality character, but also rooted in rooted in professionalism, but most importantly, integrity, because your integrity is what people are really going to remember at the end of the day. They're going to remember some things about you, but they're never going to forget your integrity, no matter how much they hate your guts. They're never going to forget the impact that you left on where you last worked or where you were. Because even it could be in personal relationships. It doesn't even have to be work relationships. Your integrity, how you carried yourself, your spirit, your essence. That's why they mad. That is why they're mad, because you left a mark that they can't erase. Your footprints is on the sand that they can't comb over. And the most important thing that I want, just to make sure that you all just know, is that the few things that we're going to just tackle is the grounded questions. So in terms of the grounded questions, the first one is, do I respond emotionally or strategically at work? That is a loaded question, because do I respond emotionally or strategically at work? I would say, putting myself in the ring for a moment, it's a combination of many things, because I would say define emotionally. If we're talking about emotional outbursts, if we're talking about being reactive, there's many ways in which we respond emotionally. It could be through confrontation, or it could be letting your employer know how you feel disrespected or you would like to be respected more. It could be through self advocacy in many ways. And it doesn't even mean that you're responding emotionally. It could literally mean that you're not only just standing up for your human rights, but you're also reminding them that, hey, if I don't do my jobs well, this department or this area in which I work doesn't fully thrive the way that you want it to. So that also puts you back in the driver's seat and lets them know that you're just as important as the money that they count and the money that they take in. And strategically, in many ways, is dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and making sure that your employer knows all of your movements, as well as if there's any mistakes, it's not going to come back on you for someone else's lack thereof, or it could even be your supervisor or your manager. Because oftentimes, in a lot of workspaces, a lot of managers and supervisors, they do not get it right. They don't. And the blame could be placed on the most, well, not could be, it is placed on the employees for the shortcomings. But oftentimes, if an employee doesn't know how to do something, you can't expect a miracle or sales to increase if the employees don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So that's precisely why, when it comes to responding emotionally or strategically at work, you have to pick your battles, right? You also have to keep this in mind, that there are some work environments you have to strategically know how to exit out of. And you also have to strategically know how to ensure that you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and not trusting a manager or a supervisor to take care of you. Because how many times have we heard, I got you, from a manager or supervisor or someone in authority, and they make us feel as though they are in our corner. They make us feel as though they are going to do right by us, but in hindsight, they're covering their behinds. So that's why how you respond is crucial. So that way you don't feed into the narrative of this person is slacking or this individual is being unprofessional. Don't feed into the narrative. Be the complete opposite, because the same person is throwing stones is literally the same person that's also doing the wrong thing. So that's why it's important to carry yourself with integrity, so that way when the dust settles, higher ups are going to see who is the real one who's really causing the mess here. And that's the most important thing, is professionalism. I know it's hard, and I know that some work environments are toxic, and there are moments when you do have to defend yourself and really make your voice heard. Do that. Absolutely. But also document the ethical failures, like especially when it comes to um, what managers are doing and what managers are not doing, you really want to make sure that you are putting yourself in a good standing where you're able to have that level of advocacy, but you're also able to just ensure that, okay, God forbid something happens, you're not going to be the one that's a part of the mess. You're going to be the one that's avoiding the mess, essentially. And protecting your peace, because so many times we are just so focused on the monetary things, but we don't look at the long term impacts. We really don't. We generally don't look at the long term effects. And the second question is, have I mistaken overworking for loyalty? That's what I did. I mistook overworking for loyalty on a level of, oh, I'm the best employee ever. I was too big for my bridges. I focused so much on, okay, if I do this, if I work ahead, if I contribute as best as I can make my work environment conducive to who I am as a person. But ultimately speaking, it made me tired, but also, if I didn't have my faith and if I didn't feel as if I had something else to do with my life, it would have made me acrimonious. It would have. It would have made me acrimonious in terms of, I'm committing myself, I'm doing, going above and beyond, asking questions, seeing what needs to be done. But I was also neglecting a lot of areas in my life that I needed to commit that same loyalty to. And the job became a bigger component of my life than it needed to be. And I think, unfortunately, that is the side effect of feeling as though you need to earn, you need to do what you need to do. But it also created a crippling effect, like, oh my God, if I lose my job, then what? Then what? Then what do I do? So that's what comes into play when you're mistaking overworking yourself as loyalty, and that, oh, my employer is going to see all of my efforts. Oh, my employer is going to see that I'm the MVP. But they saw it. But I also noticed that they were thriving, and the dollars and cents, my emotional exhaustion, my mental health was not increasing. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I knew that a change needed to happen, because I was hearing a lot of feedback, even from family, that I need to go, I need to find a different place, I need to level up and do better. And I believed that. But did I move? No. No. 5 years I committed to my last place of employment. And I would honestly say that, do I regret it? I regret that I stayed longer than I needed to be. I regretted that I stayed longer, especially when I saw some departments declining, some areas. I saw some cracks in the foundation, and I thought, okay, as long as I keep my area okay, then that would just be it. And ultimately speaking, that ultimately created a level of uncertainty, but it also created and masked a lot of um, just it masked a lot of inconsistencies, even with management and on that level. And I would honestly say that when you mistake in loyalty and when you think that, okay, I'm setting this level of, you know, professionalism, I expect the same in return. That was not what I received. So I would say keeping a job is one thing, but professionalism starts from the top down. And even you know that you're professional, but you also have to demand that from everyone in the room. Everyone in the room. Because at this point, we're living in different times, and employers are not just going to get slaps on the wrist where they're going to be, okay, I'm your boss. No, you are, but you still don't have a right to treat me the way that you're treating me. And also, when it comes to the ethics part, unless they want to be in court and unless they want lawsuits and class actions, These employers need to get it together because we're living in a lot of times where people are having to sacrifice time to their families, time to their kids, and doing things that's purposeful to them that they would love to, but they have to commit to a job. The least that an employer can do is make sure that the work environment is not toxic and that the employees feel seen and heard and safe at the same time. Because it's not easy committing to a job and being professional. And that also means that you're trying to represent you and protect your purpose. But what does that do for you when you're trying to level up? But that also goes back to the three core principles: professionalism, represent you, protect your purpose, be on time, every time as best as possible. Life be life, and we get it. But the most important thing is to really keep this in mind is that when it comes to everything that happens, you have to communicate with your bosses. If you have kids, if you need ADA, you have to communicate. You can't continue holding the waters apart when you know that you are trying to walk through them at the same time. And communicating clearly and respectfully is always important because no one can't know that something is happening unless you tell them. And of course, dress to represent yourself with integrity and dress with intention because that also helps make sure that you're not leaving anything on the table for anyone to say anything against you, that's disrespectful or that's making false accusations. And even if they do, we need to make sure that we're still representing how we want to represent ourselves and holding true to it. And from a Afrocentric reminder, your work ethic honors your ancestors and paves the way for generations to come. So you have to keep this in mind that it's a bigger role ahead, but also ask yourself purposefully, do you see yourself growing in this company? And if so, how do you feel that you can make some changes once you're increasing in the levels of your rankings? And also, how do you feel that you can make changes now? Because you don't have to make changes when you're a supervisor or manager. You can start making changes now. Because at the end of the day, this also adds to your resume. This also adds to your work experience. Forget who you don't like. The most important thing is focusing on the present, the here and now. And that also will lead us to boundaries because that also means protecting your peace for those who you don't like and those who are deliberately trying to create a toxic work environment. Once you set a firm boundary and once you also set that tone, bet they wouldn't try it. They will still try, but thick line in the sand, the thickest of the thick. Okay. And where do I need stronger boundaries? That's question number 3. Stronger boundaries comes into honoring who you are. And you don't always have to say yes to everything. Don't be a yes person. Keep work at work. Unless you're an on-call crisis individual and you're a clinical individual and you're on call, that's the only time when your work and your personal life intersects. But outside of that, keep work at work. Don't be that individual that's in Teams chats, communicating with work employers and employees after work, because that's also going to invade your thought process, invade your spirit, invade your home, invade your mind, invade your orbit. And I made that mistake of keeping work and my life together. So when I was on vacation or when I did take some time off, I wasn't fully focused on myself and my mental health. And I say all of this to say because so many individuals are entering the workforce and they run the risk of making these same decisions. That's why Career Tuesday was created, because we need to have these open and honest conversations that many of us don't have, or we do have them, but we keep it to ourselves. Because when we don't create that strong boundary, we open the floodgates of employers to take advantage of, okay, this is the only reliable person that I have. Do this, do this, do this, do that. And it doesn't create any form of boundary. And it also doesn't create a space where there's a safety to say no at any given point and set limits without guilt. If you're a nurse, your work schedule is a little different because you're essentially a frontline worker. and your immediate needs. But even when you're there, if it compromises your health, you have to set boundaries. You have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself as you navigate each stage and also health wise. Because how many times do we um, give so much of ourselves, but we don't respect our time, and others don't respect our time, and we don't have the same expectation to them. Like we don't make them respect us and vice versa. Because so many times when boundaries are set, people may perceive that as rudeness or that you're being difficult, but it's not. You're giving yourself self respect because too many people are being burned out. You see the skits on social media, the work memes, leaving work early or leaving work on Friday. You see them. It shouldn't have to come to that point, even though it's funny, is real funny. It shouldn't have to come down to that point because at the end of the day, we want to really make sure that we're creating a safer environment for the next generation, especially the next generation of individuals that are applying to college from high school or trying to make a better life for themselves, but they blindly go into something because they know that they want a job or they know that they want to achieve something. So that's why setting boundaries are important. And that's why question number 4 is, do I take feedback personally or professionally? I would say delivery is important. If you're an employer, your delivery is important. Don't make your personal opinions into your feedback because that also will give a personal perception instead of a professional feedback perception. Because ultimately speaking, how people take feedback is crucial, but also how it's delivered is most important. The most important thing is not creating a way where, okay, feedback is shared, but it's making someone else feel as if you're, you know, giving a dig to them. Because oftentimes some feedbacks can feel as if it's a personal attack. So that's why we have to check ourselves at the door when it comes to emotional regulation and staying centered, stay in control, and do not let your emotions cost you not only your job, but also pause before you react. I've had to do this many times, especially at work, and making sure that, and even personally, it's still an everyday task, but it's also still an everyday journey in making sure that the feedback that I take, it's more constructive, but it's also I'm not internalizing it as an attack. It's so easy, but that also goes back to triggers. What triggers you in the workplace dynamics? Is it from an authoritarian perspective? Do you feel as though you're being told what to do versus being guided? Or do you feel as if you're being micromanaged? And oftentimes we don't really connect our personal triggers to everyday life. We often ignore them, and sometimes we feel as though, okay, let me go ahead and just do this job and complete it and then go home and then that's that. Our who we are also intersects with our personal lives as well as our professional lives. So the most important thing is just checking that at the door, but also talking about that with someone. If you're not into counseling, especially if you want someone that looks like you, sounds like you, or has a little bit more culturally intelligence, I did do a video about resources for mental health because especially when it's known culturally that mental health and counseling is not something that is often educated or often mentioned, especially in the brown and black communities. So talking about that with someone is important because internalizing it, that can come out and not in the best way, and it can also hurt someone and it can be life threatening to you and others. So talking to someone, could be your spiritual leader or it could be a therapist, about your triggers is crucial because that also allows you the opportunity to really address them instead of burying them deeply, because what's done in the dark comes into the light. So what is buried deeply can always come back up to the surface, and it could be in passive aggressive ways or it could be in ways that is harmful, and I don't think you want that, and neither do I want that for you. And that also leads us to the next question is, am I building relationships or just completing tasks? That question is loaded because you still want to build boundaries, but if you feel as if there is a work professional friendship that can be developed, and sometimes individuals do have friends at work, you have to look at it from all angles here because you don't want to carry a work friendship outside of work and you still feel as if you are being burdened and you still feel as if you are being overly policed and you don't want to carry that same work energy in your personal life. So it's okay to set boundaries because I've had some relationships, friendships, well, workships, I would say, with previous individuals in my life. And granted, there are some that I still have. There are still some that I still hold sacred. But then there are some that I realize that sometimes when you're having work stresses, you trauma bond. But it doesn't mean that it's on a level where you are, okay, this is my bestie. This is my confidant where I know that I can talk to them. And sometimes if your communication is just wrapped around work consistently, then your relationship is just it's at a glass ceiling. So unless you continue with it or it just becomes on a human basis, like you're okay, you're good, okay, have a good day, then you have to ask yourself, is this sustainable? Do I want to continue this relationship? And sometimes letting go is the hardest thing. I know for me it was, but it wasn't in a way of not wishing the individuals well. I wish them all the best, but I personally feel as though as you continue to grow and as you continue to level up in life, you also have to be mindful of you're going to lose some friends along the way, and you're also going to lose connections that you've made at pivotal points in your life, and that is the hardest thing. The hardest. So you have to ask yourselves here, are you building work relationships, professional relationships, personal relationships, or are you there to just complete a work job or a task? It's okay if you're there to complete a task because some people don't have friends at work. That's okay. That's okay too. So at the end of the day, it's no judgment towards you and how you respond. The most important thing is treating individuals with respect and setting a boundary. If you feel as if they're trying to get close to you as a friend, it's okay to set that boundary and letting them know that you're not interested in really a friendship, but you're okay with being friendly, but not in a friendship. And also, is my work ethic sustainable? That goes back to emotional regulation. Do you feel as though, or that goes back to professionalism, boundaries, and emotional regulation? Do you feel as though your work ethic is sustainable? Do you feel as though you can continue to put on that smile if it's genuine? Or do you think that you can still continue to give 110%, even though you feel as if the work is like a dementor sucking you dry? So it's so much elements. It's so much reminders of the what ifs, what we can do better, what we should do better, what we need to do better. But it's never a reminder of, okay, here's what I can contribute. And also, this goes back to the very first video that I did in regards to work resources. Is your place of employment offering your resources for mental health and counseling? Is your work environment offering you the opportunities to have a mental health break or to really just step away before you crash out on an employee, or it could be a customer, or it could be someone that you're working with, or someone who's around you that is not good to you or your spirit. So I say all of this to say keeping a job is one thing, but utilizing the three pillars of professionalism, boundaries, and emotional regulation, if these are not a part of it, then we're failing. We're setting ourselves up and not for success, but for failure. So that is precisely why I wanted to create the Career Tuesday, because it allows us to have a candid conversation about work, but also the good, the bad, and the ugly. And sometimes I will share with you some experiences that I've had, but also if you're following the Grind and Bag podcast on Substack, I did post a audio about my first work experience and when I also resigned and where I worked. So I'll leave that exclusively to you all to listen to. But the most important thing that I want you all to know that support still exists for you, even in moments like this. So if you feel as though I'm stuck, you can get yourself unstuck. Get that gooby gone. and get that gum out your shoe and make your feet walk. Do what you got to do. But the most important thing is take what resonates with you from this video today. Move gently with yourself. Protect your mind, body, and spirit. And I'm your host, Aisha Ansa. And please keep choosing yourself, even in moments like this. Even how hard it may be, even if you feel as though your back is against the wall, it is not easy. But I want you to know that we are in this together. We are. So see y'all next Tuesday on another Cure Tuesday. And hey, we're going to be in June, y'all. Crazy. It's wild. But to be continued, we're going to keep doing more. We're going to stay consistent. Even going into the holidays, we're going to stay consistent because we're working on the holidays. We're working on weekends. We're working. But we're going to keep working towards bettering ourselves at the same time. See you all on the next episode. Take care, stay blessed, subscribe, like, share, and comment. And thank you so much for what you do always and what you contribute to your workplaces. Goodbye now.